another exciting episode of Speculative Tolkienism.
When we enter this episode 5, Durin is using the ring power to show everyone where to dig. And through digging, he lets in the light that had been cut off by some inexplicable changes in the mountain and its temperament.
I'm not totally against the ring giving the power to kind of find what they need to find in order to survive.
No. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that. Because the ring has the power, and it was interesting that it gave Durin sight. He could see where to dig.
Yeah.
And that was fine. That was fine because the rings, especially the One Ring, obviously, always gave a certain sight, like a sight beyond sight. You could see the other world. When Frodo put it on, he could see the other world. And these other rings seem to be doing that same kind of thing. And so that's canonical. I don't have a problem with that. But go ahead.
But the other thing though too, like again, the dwarves weren't able to be corrupted really, even with the Master Ring. They were
the dwarves were too steadfast, too stone-like.
Too stubborn. Yeah,
there's something
too
like that.
strong-willed.
They were much harder to corrupt. So the fact that Durin got corrupted apparently by the deceit inherent in this One Ring that made him, for some reason, made him selfish. Seems like, and so suddenly, not over time, but immediately.
That's what I'm saying. Like even with the One Ring, and with Sauron being, kind of like rebuilding himself in Dol Guldur. When Bilbo found the ring, he used it quite a bit. It took him 50-something years. What was it? He was 50, over 50 years for him to actually start kind of being a little bit corrupted.
Start to feel stretched, as it were.
Yeah.
Like too much jam over toast or butter.
But again, everything just seems so just mashed together. I have no sense of time or space or even geography in this.
Like in the first episode of season 2, when Sauron gets killed and then kind of reanimates himself through the slime, that could have taken hundreds of years. But we don't know that. It kind of feels like it just took a few hours or minutes.
And then
there's no sense of that time and how it refers to any other span of time.
Yeah, but I don't like I said, I don't like the fact that everything. It might be a plot point that needs to be. They need to expedite the timeline, but it just seems like with 5 seasons promised that you could probably slow down and. I
mean, some things. Well, the problem is that you'd think, oh, hey, we have to expedite this because we have to do this quickly, but some things seem compressed and other things seem drawn out way too long. Like, why are you spending so much time on Disa, for instance, chasing a bowling ball down a well?
That was awesome.
Like, why is this happening? This is taking so long, but we'll get to that. But I'm just getting back to what I was just saying about the mountain. Like, it seemed like the mountain was already mad at the dwarves because it was doing these things. My point is, it's like they dug too deep in the last season. Right, you know what I mean? They already dug too deep for the mithril, and then Durin in the last season threw the leaf in the well, and it startled the Balrog, and you get this sense like, oh, the Balrog's awake, and it's because they're digging for mithril. And now it's like, oh wait, this is a new, more ring-based evil that makes them dig deep for gold. And I'm like, so which is it? I mean, why are you doing this twice? It's like, was it inherent selfishness in the dwarves that made them dig too deep, or is it this new ring that's prompting them to go deep and dig for gold, which they can now see because of the ring? The digging too deep and the selfishness already happened. It's like it makes the ring seem irrelevant. Why do you need this ring as a vehicle for the selfishness and the covetousness and the
Don't you think it would have been way more interesting if they like a shaft, like one of their light shafts, one of them, kind of collapsed, right? And like, hey, there's a light shaft that collapsed over here, and say something else happened, and then something else happened, and all this stuff is kind of happening, and then as the season progresses, you realize that it's the Balrog kind of messing with the dwarves, or kind of not revealing himself, and the
Right.
only thing that's maybe protecting him is the ring. It's like there's no real reason.
That would be actually an interesting like power struggle between
Yeah,
this
that's what I'm saying.
this
Yeah,
unnamed evil, like causing trouble for the dwarves. And like you said, I mean, we don't know why this mountain's collapsing or why it's causing them trouble and why it's cutting off its light supply. Was it the
yeah. I
or
think it was
Druin? Was it Mount Doom? Was it the new onset of Sauron? Or was it the Balrog? Or was it the it's never really explained. It's just like, oh, it's something.
I think there's wasted opportunities all over this
Oh yeah,
show.
yeah. There are
You know,
moments where like this could have gone somewhere.
and I think that's what's kind of drives me nuts about shows like this. And it's the same thing that drove me nuts about The Last Jedi is that the ideas, like some ideas are like really good, and then they just shit all over it. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? It's like,
They just can't execute. This next scene where Durin, the scene continues where Durin's like finding more places to dig, and then they show him quickly like unleashing the light. And then he goes into this speech, right, where he says, like, he's like, I feel sorry for the people on the surface of the earth who are like enslaved to the sun, who are chained to its ceaseless rhythms of waking and sleeping, right? So as if like he said this, and then he lets the sun in, right? And he's like, "Oh,
yeah,
look, the sun's coming in." So as if to say, we dwarves are smart. We're not chained to the ceaseless rhythms of waking and sleeping of the sun. Look, see, we
except we
got.
need sun to grow our damn food.
But I'm like, dude, what do you think's going to happen when that sun sets? It's going to be dark overhead, and all you're still going to be. It's like, how are you less chained to the rhythms of the setting of the sun when you're letting in shafts of light, but that sun's going to set? And
Yeah,
now how do you get those shafts of light? Are you really implying that you're digging holes like down, like through the earth so that the sun peeks in from like the other side of the earth, like from
yeah,
China?
they, well, or
I don't think you.
ruin.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, from Maroon.
And again, and we're talking about the least cringy episode. You
No,
know what
this
I'm
is by
saying?
far the least cringy episode. Let's move on.
Yes.
So
Oh,
there was this scene, and I'm like, again, like this could actually be cool because you got Farazan, and he's like dreaming. This is all from Tolkien. Like he's like wishing he could, you know, go to the Undying Lands and not be forbidden to go past Tol Eressëa or whatever and follow the setting sun and blah blah blah. And his son is like, take that opportunity, and it just had to get cringe because I don't know if you remember this. Like, okay, so this is a scene. It might be like a throwaway scene, but the
yeah,
son is like, dude, this is your chance. You have the scepter. Like, seize power. So he's like totally on the side of his dad, right?
right.
And then for some totally dumb reason, the dad like just becomes a total asshole, and is like,
once, when you were at her breast, your mother prophesied that you would come to ill ends. What did she say? Impress me in the task that I'm about to place upon you, and I will tell you, fail to.
so it's like, once your mom said that you're gonna turn into a up, or you're gonna die in a shitty way, or you're gonna come to ill ends, and you need to do what I ask you to do, and maybe I'll tell you more information.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, he just told you that he was on your side, and I'm sure if you told him to do something, he would do it for that reason because he's on your side. He doesn't need you to like tempt him with some weird information and, hey, I'll tell you the rest of this story if you do what I ask you. Because hearing the rest of that story does not seem like very motivating. Like, who would be motivated? Like, there's like, you already know the upshot. Like, you're gonna turn to,
Yeah.
it's gonna like be bad ends, and it's stupid.
You know, did you ever watch Game of Thrones first season?
No.
No, Sean Bean. Like, here's the thing. This is what I get from um, this series right here. Is like there are no good guys. Like in the first season of Game of Thrones, Sean Bean was like the moral compass of everybody. He was such a likable character, such a
Right.
noble character, and they ended up killing him. You know,
Yeah.
spoiler alert. You know, so
Right.
but there
Sean Bean,
he
that's
was.
Boromir, right?
That's Boromir, and
Right.
and it brings me back to Boromir, where Boromir was good and slowly being corrupted. It's like everybody that's got any kind of power, right?
Yeah.
There's some kind of corruption happening, you know, and it should, to me, it should be a slow burn. It should be like,
Right. You have no Boromir that I can see, where you have someone who changes from a good guy to a bad guy.
Captain leaving.
And did you notice this scene here where like he's leaving
Nobody's captain now.
he's leaving the seafarers, and they're like, "Captain, my captain,"
I know,
and the guy's like, "Don't say that to him. He's not a captain."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh no, he's my captain," and they're all like, "Oh no." And I'm like, dude, that scene's ripped straight from Dead Poet Society.
yeah, I know. It's like there's Robin Williams. It's
like he's Robin Williams, and they're saying, "Hey, my captain."
Captain, my captain.
Sit down, Mr. Anderson.
Captain.
Thank you, Captain.
The Valar protects you.
That's enough.
Thank you, Captain.
You hear me? Sit down. Sit down. You hear me?
Oh, Captain, my captain.
Captain.
Valar bless you, Captain.
Thank you, sir.
The Valar bless you. Thank you, Captain. The Valar
That's
bless
enough.
you.
Thank you, Captain.
And the authority figure's like,
Silence.
Sit down.
"Don't do that."
Don't say that. Yeah, I was half expecting him to turn around and say, "Thank you, boys."
Thank you, boys.
Thank you.
you. Yeah, and put a tweed jacket on. As
Yeah,
it
I know.
Thank you, boys.
rolls into the fog of an Ivy League.
Honestly, this whole Numenorian thing that's going on, and this is the least interesting thing about. Well, actually, no. There's a lot
No,
of least interesting things.
the Theo
but
thing is less interesting. The Nori thing is
Well,
less
you know what?
interesting.
Here's the thing. At least with the Theo thing, there is some hope of seeing some kind of orc, some kind of spider, you know, some kind of
Right.
wildling out in the like. Here it's just like all like men stuff, and it's not.
It's politics, but it's like they took our jobs level politics.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it wasn't really clear like why. Like this looked kind of silly, like the tools flying across the room.
yeah.
Well, what the idea was? She was doing what? She was fighting off.
She was in the what do you call it? The other world.
She was in the other world, and she was seeing like Sauron.
She was seeing Sauron, but
Sauron
he was also
just standing there.
right. But she
Doesn't-
said that.
Go ahead.
But he was like, she told Anatar, "Hey, I saw this glowing figure, tall." It's like that was Celebrimbor because he's blah blah blah. You know,
Right. But the thing is, if like in Lord of the Rings, when Frodo puts on the ring, he sees like, you know, and he's like on Weathertop, he sees the Black Riders, but he sees them for what they are, not, you know, he can see them better or something. Like
Yeah.
he has sight beyond sight or sight,
yeah,
but they're still there.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's seeing Anatar, who's Sauron, who's right there. So is she seeing
Right.
Anatar for who he really is? You would imagine that she would be looking in his direction and see the glowing, flaming skin that she describes on him.
Right.
But then why is she like flailing around with these like wrenches and socket wrenches and
Well, because she's fighting. I don't know.
But
man. I mean,
but it doesn't really look like she's fighting any very effectively or like any particular direction. It's just here, over there. Like it didn't. It was again one of those things where it's like this didn't really work, nor make sense, nor be logically connected to any other thing that we should be expected.
this right now, this was just an explanation, I think, or a way to introduce the invisibility invisibility power of
Right.
the rings. Like why? But again, that
But I
doesn't
thought
really make any
but
sense.
but she's trying on the man ring.
Right.
She's
So
resizing
apparently,
the man ring.
right. But apparently, the man rings are going to make everybody disappear. To explain disappearing, but it's kind of dumb because
Yeah, it's dumb.
they faded. It was like their life stretched and they
Right.
faded. Now, it remains to be seen if they give the rings and the rings make the man invisible, right?
Right. We'll see.
But what I fear is going to happen, right, is that they're going to give these rings to the men, whatever men they give them to.
Which men? They haven't introduced any characters as men yet.
Al Farzan.
Oh, right. Well,
I think that's
but in the Tolkien lore, Al Farazan was not a recipient of one of these.
I know he was not a recipient, but have they followed anything that Tolkien has set up in this in the series?
Right.
He's like the most logical.
Right. Or his son, who.
Yeah, maybe they both get one. Who knows? But the point is that I hope what they don't do is give these men their rings. They put them on, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm evil.
Well,
like it.
It's kind of what they've been doing, like with Durin, like puts on the ring and suddenly he's a different person.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like this whole thing should be building up to these rings of power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are people are looking at them like this is wonderful. It's like back when they said that what do you call it? Heroin was the wonder drug. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's doing heroin. It's good for you, right? And then, all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, this isn't so good. And by then it's too late.
Right.
Yeah. And again, just to reiterate, heroin is not good.
Right. Don't do heroin, guys.
Don't do heroin, everybody.
No, but you're right. I mean, it would have been so much better if like these rings were a benefit.
Yeah.
Without being under this cloud of suspicion or anything like that. There was clearly a benefit for several episodes. And then you build into this subtle like
should have been a benefit. It should have been a benefit and built up all this like wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of building up this wonderful things is that
on a foundation.
It's on a fucked up foundation that they don't know about. And then when Sauron, like basically it's like, all right, they have done my work for me. I don't need to build this stuff. Now all I need to do is put on this ring and then dominate everything. And now I like,
yeah, that would have been perfect. You create this beautiful thing and then only after Sauron takes the ring, like, oh shoot, now it's all going to shit.
Too late.
But it's going to shit now. It's like they've got their load like way too early.